Hello, my name is Maria Miller from mathmammoth.com. In this lesson we're gonna study how to use random sampling. Now, my first example has to do with word length in a big algebra book. And I actually took 3 different samples from that algebra book, and each sample was 20 words only, to make it simple. And I took it from 3 different pages. I took 20 words. And then I counted the word lengths. I counted, for example, here in sample 1, I had 3 words that were 1 letter long. Of course, that's the word And then I had 2 words that were 2 letters long, and so on. And so I did the same for sample 2 and sample 3. So, for example, in sample 2, we had some long words here. And in sample 1, we had 1 very long word, but then most of the words were just medium length, and so on. And then I calculated the mean or the average over here for each sample. So, now, what can I conclude from all this data? First of all, we can see that whenever you have a sample, another sample from the same population, or, the population here is all the words in that book, the samples will, of course, vary, and the mean word length will vary for each sample. I know that just choosing 20 word sample is actually not good enough. That kind of thick book has tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of words. So if you're really studying this topic, you want to take a much larger sample, maybe a few full pages, and study all the words on those few pages. So I am not sure how much we can use these results, but my guess is that the mean word length in this algebra book is more than 4, based on these 3 means that I got from here. And to study it further, I definitely would need a bigger sample size, not just 20 words. Over here, let's say that you are studying beans, and you planted beans in 2 different fields, and the fields are different somehow. Maybe the soil is different, okay? You want to study how that soil affects the bean plant growth. And so you have planted your beans, and then on day 10, you want to measure the height of those bean plants. But you cannot measure the height of all those plants because you probably have hundreds of plants in your both fields. So you obtain a sample from both fields. Sample 1 from field 1, sample 2 from field 2. And then you want to study the situation. You measure how tall they are in centimeters, 10 different plants for each field. And then you calculate all these numbers. The mean and median has to do with the central tendency of the data. Then these rest have to do with the variability within the data. So the mean or the average, 26.3 centimeters and 21.9. Also the median, 26 and 22. We can see clearly that the plants in the field 1 grew taller, right? Much taller than the plants here. And you can probably see that just by looking at your fields. But if you're conducting any kind of scientific experiment, and maybe later on you'll add a 3rd field with some different variable, you want to have numbers. You want to have exact numbers to know just how much taller they were. And then range. Range is the difference between maximum and minimum values. The range was the same, but mean absolute deviation and interquartile range, which both are measures of variability. The variability is less here than in sample 2. So the plants here are like more consistent. The heights are closer together. Here they vary somewhat more. And these numbers are also important if you had a 3rd field or 4th or whatever. You want to compare if the plants vary a lot from each other or not a lot. Okay, well, we're done with this lesson, and I hope it was helpful.